The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
G'day, it's Gus Walland here from Gotcha for Life and Triple M. I'd love to invite you along to the Mental Fitness Gym. Go to the mentalfitnessgym.org. That is a place where you can pick up some exercises to build your mental fitness, to work on that emotional muscle, those muscles in your head that are so powerful. Please come and join us at the mentalfitnessgym.org for all that stuff to build your emotional muscle and your mental fitness.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and it is the NRLW weekly wrap, and it is round 8 that has been played in the NRLW. Only one more week to go, but it does look like the top 4 that will progress to the finals have been sorted. There is another team in 5th position, the Parramatta Eels, that could potentially end up in that 4th spot, which is currently held by the Newcastle Knights. They are on 10 points. The Eels also on 10 points. However, the points differential, the Newcastle Knights have a plus 74 and the Eels a minus 10. Now, look, going into round number 9, the Newcastle Knights, they play the North Queensland Cowboys, and the Parramatta Eels, they will play the Sydney Roosters. So the Sydney Roosters are now on top of the table, and the Newcastle Knights in 4th, the North Queensland Cowboys in 6th. So, look, the Parramatta Eels could make the finals. They just need to go out there and win the game against the Roosters, which is going to be tough as they are the league leaders and they had a good win on the weekend against the North Queensland Cowboys. But they just need to win, and then the Cowboys, hopefully, as a Parramatta fan, can beat the Newcastle Knights, and then the Eels will sneak into the 4th spot. And now, otherwise, depending on if both teams win, it just depends on by how much, but it is going to have to be a massive victory to the Eels to get that for and against differential up, and the Cowboys will have to flog the Knights to lessen their points differential. So, look, the most likely option for Parramatta to get in there is to win the game against the Roosters and the Newcastle Knights to lose. But going back to round number 8 in the NRLW, and look, there were some great games played. There were some big scores scored as well, but it all kicked off on Thursday night. The West Tigers got their first win of the season against the St George Illawarra Dragons. Now, this was Racine McGregor's 40th game in the NRLW, so congratulations to her. Look, it was 14-0 at half-time to the Tigers, and it ended up being 16-14, so a big comeback from the Dragons in the second half. Only the 2 points scored by the Tigers in that second half, but look, they held on in front of their crowd at Leichhardt Oval, in front of their home fans. It was a wet old night in Sydney on Thursday night, but the scenes there when the Tigers got their first win of the season, they were great. Everyone was cheering. The players looked so happy as well, and it was great to see that they got a win in the NRLW. The Dragons, they would be disappointed with that one. They probably thought they could go into this game as expecting a win, I guess, probably being favourites in this game. They'll be disappointed with that they couldn't get Racine McGregor a win in her 40th game. But it wasn't to be. The Tigers held on, and they got a win at Leichhardt Oval in front of their home fans, which was great to see. Now, the next game, it was a top-of-the-table clash, and I didn't get to see much of this game at all. I only caught the last try, believe it or not, which was the game-winning try to Chelsea Lenarduzzi in the 69th minute to give the Broncos the victory, 20 points to 16. Now, a remarkable turnaround from the Broncos. They did lose their first 2 games of the season against Parramatta, and can't remember who the second game was, but they lost their first 2 and they've won every game since. So a remarkable turnaround from the Brisbane Broncos, and they now sit in second spot on the ladder on 12 points, equal with the Roosters and Sharks, who they beat on the weekend as well. For the Sharks, look, the Sharks, that's, I think, 2 losses in a row now for the Sharks. Is there a little bit of a slide? They have slid down the ladder from top spot to third spot. They still are on equal points, 12 competition points, but their for and against is only plus 26. So the top 2 sides are 96 and 86. So plus 96 and plus 86. So the Sharks have slipped down. They won't slip out of the finals race. They will play finals, depending on the Tigers. I mean, the Tigers could do a major upset, but you wouldn't think so, as the Tigers are coming last and the Sharks will go into this game as favourites. But maybe a little bit of a concerning thing for the Sharks at the moment. They've lost their last 2 games and in a row. And look, you don't want that going into finals. You want to be winning games. You want to have confidence. You want to be winning games. Get that momentum happening going into finals. This game against the Tigers might be something that they really need to get that confidence back, to get that winning feeling back going into finals. So it may look like they will play the Broncos in the finals, depending on the results of this weekend, as those first top 3 teams are locked on 12 points. So it depends on the results, but it does look like they will play the Broncos again in the first week of the finals to get into that grand final. The unfortunate news for the Brisbane Broncos is Stacey Walker has suffered a lower leg injury, which has obviously ruled her out for the season. I saw her on the NRLW show on Fox League, and such a happy player, obviously a rugby union convert, a gold medalist at the Paris Olympics. So amazing to believe that she won a gold medal at the Paris Olympics and has now come over to rugby league. Such a happy person, always wanted to give rugby league a chance and was killing it, scoring tries. Actually scored a try in this game against the Sharks, but unfortunately a lower leg injury has ruled her out for this season, which is a big blow for the Broncos. They will miss her, that is for sure. But a good win for the Broncos, concerning for the Sharks. Hopefully they can bounce back this weekend against the Tigers. Now, the next game was a bit of a blowout. It was a replay of last year's grand final. It was the Newcastle Knights. It was part of a doubleheader up at So this was the second game of the doubleheader at Cbus Super Stadium up there on the Gold Coast, and it was Newcastle victorious 46 points to 10 over the Gold Coast Titans. An absolute shellacking, you could say, in this game. It was 34-0 at halftime. The game was won at halftime. The game was probably won in the first 25 minutes, to be honest, 20 minutes. Yasmin Clydesdale scored the first try. She got 2. Sheridan Gallagher a great play from her. She took a intercept and ran down the field. The next play after that, the 5'8" did a kick over the top, and look who was on the spot. No other than Tamika Upton, who scored a try in the 14th minute. But I think Yasmin Clydesdale was probably the player of the game there. As I said, scored 2 tries. Sheridan Gallagher as well. She's been playing pretty well. She scored her first hat-trick of tries. Jessie Southwell, she had a pretty good day with the boot, 5 from 9. Some would say 5 from 9 is not that good, but I can tell you now, some of those shots that she missed were from out wide on the sideline. But other than that, it was pretty good goal kicking from Jessie Southwell. But the Newcastle Knights, they are really warming up into this final series and looking to defend their title, their back-to-back titles. They look like they are going to go. They're looking for that three-peat of NRLW titles. A little bit of a disappointing season for the Gold Coast Titans. Obviously, injuries have played their part in this season. Last week, Lauren Brown was out of action, so we saw a new halfback in the Gold Coast Titans side. But so injuries have played their part, but overall, a pretty disappointing season from last year's grand finalists. But look, they'll look to bounce back next week against the Canberra Raiders as well, who went down to the Parramatta Eels this week in their final game. So they'll be looking to get a win and finish the season on a high, and look forward to 2025. As I said, Newcastle Knights, they are looking pretty strong and look like they will be hard to stop in the finals and go for that 3 titles in a row. The next game was played up at Gosford. It was the Industry Group Stadium up there at Gosford. It was the Sydney Roosters taking on the North Queensland Cowboys, and it was won by the Roosters 24 points to 12. Olivia Koenig, she got the first try for the Roosters, and then look, the Cowboys, they gave a really good strong fight back. They got back to 12 points to 6 in front, with Kira Dibb leading from the front. She scored the first Cowboys try. A little bit of a show and go, a left foot step and over. And then Jakaya Whitfield scored a try 4 minutes later. Kira Dibb kicking both the goals there. It was 18 points to 12 at half-time. You thought when the Cowboys got to the lead, you thought potentially this could be a little bit of an upset victory here to the Cowboys. But the Roosters came out in the second half and scored another try and got the win 24 points to 12. And look, the Roosters, they are warming again to the finals. They now have top spot on the ladder, and they play the Parramatta Eels next week, so they will look to get this minor premiership in the NRLW, and get that first spot, and maybe it will look like they will play last year's grand finalists and premiers, the Newcastle Knights, in the first week of the finals, as one plays number 4. So that will be a massive clash in the finals to get into that grand final for the NRLW. Congratulations to Isabel Kelly as well. Set a NRLW record for running 365 metres. Can you believe that? That is a massive effort from a great player, Isabel Kelly. In 2 previous 2024 games, she ran for 266 and 269 metres. But 365 metres in this game against the Cowboys, absolutely outstanding, and a new NRLW record. So a massive effort there from the Roosters skipper, Isabel Kelly, and as I said before, priming for the finals and giving that grand final a good hard crack. So the next game was the one that I was looking forward to. Obviously, it was the last game of the round. It was the Parramatta Eels taking on the Canberra Raiders down there at GIO Stadium in Canberra. Just under 2,000 in attendance there on a beautiful Sunday day. Look, it was 12-0 at half-time, and there was 3 moments in the second half that really cemented, I guess you could say, the victory for the Parramatta Eels, who, in my eyes, and probably many others as well, are a completely different side to that of 2023. They have won more games. They are knocking on the door of finals. They've won 5 games this season, and then, look, they've been competitive in every single one of them. The outstanding thing for me, and probably others as well, is their defence. They have really tightened their defence this season. Their scramble defence has been great. There was plenty of opportunities for the Raiders to score tries yesterday, but the Eels kept them out with their defence, and it is showing because they are getting results on the field. 12-0 at halftime, as I said. Mahalia Murphy, the captain, got the first try, and Rachel Pearson. Now, what I was saying before, there was 3 moments late in that second half, and Rachel Pearson was involved in 2 of them. There was a kick by the Canberra. The first one was a kick by the Canberra Raiders, which ended up in the in-goal of the Parramatta Eels. Ali Faye had the ball. She passed it in her in-goal. Hearts went into mouths as we thought, why do you pass it in your in-goal? But the pass went to Monique Donovan, who then also passed the ball to Rachel Pearson in the in-goal. And we thought, oh no, what is going on there? But a great effort from Rachel Pearson to get out into the field of play and played the ball. Now, shortly after that, Rachel Pearson was involved again. She did her second 40-30 in this game, and it was a real crucial point of the game as well. The Eels were stuck down on their line. Canberra were looking to get the ball back and potentially win this game, but Rachel did another great kick, another 40-30, and another 40-30, and that in the ensuing set of 6, it was Rory Owen, who has been an outstanding player for the Parramatta Eels this season, her debut season. Rory, the race car, as she is known, but last week she scored an unbelievable try where she beat defenders and sprinted to the line. This week, the same sort of thing as well. It was about 20 or 30 metres out and was beating defenders and got to the line and put the ball down, which ended up being the match-winning try as the Eels won by 2 points. But just another unbelievable effort from Rory Owen. It was a great try. If you can, search back and have a look at the highlights of that try, and even have a look at the highlights of the try before as well, because that was an unbelievable effort as well. So a real find. I believe at the start of the season that Rory Rory, she wasn't considered to be one of the starting centres. There was a couple other players in front of her, but injuries crippled their start of the season. So Rory and I think it's Rosie Kelly got their starts in the centres for Parramatta, and look, those two have not looked back. They've grabbed their opportunity, and they've been 2 of the best players for the Eels, especially Rory Owen, scoring tries. She scored one against the Sharks as well in round number 2, I think it was. Another great effort, her debut try. So one of the real finds of the year, and potentially could be the NRLW Rookie of the Year, I would say. Definitely right up there anyway. So a victory for the Parramatta Eels to keep their slim finals chances alive. As I said before, they just need to win their next game. Now, looking forward to next weekend, and it is round number 9. It is the last regular round in the NRLW. It sees the Sharks taking on the West Tigers at PointsBet Stadium in Sydney on Thursday night. So a bit of Thursday night footy to watch there. 3rd versus 10th at 7:45pm on Thursday. The next game is the Dragons taking on the Broncos at Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville. The Dragons, look, they're coming 9th at the moment out of a 10-team competition. Jamie Soward's last game as head coach. The Broncos, they'll be hard to beat there, I would say. So I think I will tip the Broncos. Look, in that first game, I think I'll tip the Sharks. It's a double header up there at Queensland Country Bank Stadium as the Cowboys take on the Knights. Now this one could be a little bit of an interesting one, I think. I think the Cowboys are pretty competitive. They nearly got the Roosters last week. They were in control of that game, but unfortunately the Roosters scored some tries and got away with the victory. But I think they will be competitive in this game. Newcastle, they looked really good last week against the Titans, but I think the Knights will get the win. But don't be surprised if the Cowboys can spring an upset in this one, especially at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. That one on at 3:15 on Saturday. The next game after that is the Raiders taking on the Titans at CommBank Stadium in Sydney. The Raiders in 8th spot, the Titans in 7th. So both teams have had the same sort of season this year. Look, I think the Raiders, they have also been competitive in games. They just have fallen short and not got the victories. They were pretty competitive last season. They'll be disappointed with their year this year. And I've already spoken about the Titans as well. And the last game to wrap up the regular season in the NRLW is at CommBank Stadium as well, so a double header there. It is the Eels taking on the Roosters, so a must-win game for Parramatta. By this stage, they will know if they are able to make the finals or not, but I think they just need to go out and just win the game. It's going to be tough against the Roosters. They are in 1st spot at the moment. Last time they played was last season, and it was a massive victory to the Roosters, 46 points to 12. But I think this is a completely different Parramatta Eels NRLW side. The Eels have actually got the better record out of their last 5 games. They are 3 out of 5. And, sorry, the Roosters are 3 out of 5, I should say. The Eels are the Roosters are 4 out of 5, I should say. Pardon me. And the Eels are 3 out of 5. They had those couple of losses against the Newcastle Knights and the Dragons there after being pretty competitive in the first part of the season. They got their season back on track with a win against the Titans and now the Raiders. So, look, this game will be interesting. We know that the Roosters can score points. The Eels have probably one of the better defences in the competition, which has certainly proved the goods for them this season. So, look, that'll be a great game on Sunday, 3:15pm at CommBank Stadium after the Raiders and Titans. So, that is my NRLW weekly wrap for round number 8 in the NRLW. One more week to go. Then a semi-finals series between the top 4 sides. And after that, we will know who our grand finalists are to play on NRL Grand Final Day. So that will be exciting to watch. And hopefully I will be able to get my NRLW correspondent, Kiana Takarangi, back for the finals after the regular season. We might do a bit of a preview of the finals as well. So hopefully I can get her back on board and do that one for you guys, the listeners. So thank you very much for listening to this one. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope your team wins if they are playing in the NRLW. And look, even if your team's not playing and you're a fan of rugby league, watch it on Channel 9, Foxtel. The NRLW is just growing and growing and growing. The interest is getting there, and the standard of football is really high as well. Thank you very much for listening. Stay tuned throughout the week for more Paracave podcast content, and you can find that on Apple or Spotify, and also you can follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good day, enjoy your week, and go Para!
Hello, Paracave podcast listeners. My name is Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty and long-term sponsor of the Paracave podcast. If you're looking to sell your property or buy, or just curious to know what your property is worth in today's market, give me a call today on 0421 588 445.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.